Thank you so much. Hopefully everybody can hear me on the back. Uh, I just arrived to Vilnius and to Lithuania yesterday. It's my first time in the country and the city. Very beautiful. I spent some nice time yesterday. I come from Czech Republic, where Safetica is headquartered, a part of the other locations in Europe and United States and Latin America. And I would like to walk you through the way how to protect in a modern way data in the organization you have. Maybe the point I want to take is specifically looking at insider threat and how insider threat and data loss prevention work together in order to protect your data. After discussing with Forrester and Gartner in the recent months, we were specifically asking in the organization, what is the future of the data protection in any company? What is the next trend for your organization in order to protect the data that is futuristic? Two main things went out, and it is that organizations should protect the data with a data loss prevention solution that is comprehensive and flexible enough to address the future needs. So not only looking at the data loss prevention of what is the content we are protecting, but what is the context of the data, where does it come from, in order to make sure that we have the least possible false positives. At the same time, it cannot live as an individual standalone solution, but it has to be tightly integrated with the topic of insider risk management. And this is related to insider threats. Only when the companies are available or able to detect possible insider threats and manage them, it would be the comprehensive solution in order for them to address the future risks associated with data. And it can be in any of the three main topics that are resonating globally for now, which is artificial intelligence data preparation for any projects the company may have, for continuous problem in shadow IT, but many more. So let's take a look. Maybe starting with the one single question. What is insider threat? Or what are the insider threats? Maybe before I answer this question for you, I walk you through that, I want you to just pause and think of one single file with the information that you all have in the company, that if that information from that file, one single file, is exposed internally to your organization, to wrong hands of your wrong colleagues, and or is passed over externally to outside environment, protected environment of the company, that will be simple worst damage for your company, either financial or reputation. So think of what would be the simple file, one single file, and what would be the content of that file. I give you maybe 5 to 10 seconds to think about it. And now think about where this file and its derivatives, so its copies, after many years are, who processed them, and where did it go? So in a broader scale, we call this data analysis, but from the security perspective. So, or data audit. You understand that currently, if there is a cyber attack, it's not even successful if somebody doesn't steal the data or expose the data or somehow gets the data inaccessible. So the data is really key element for the protection of the company. I also want you to think that as a data security professionals, we're thinking of the data in two aspects. And I had a conversations with some of the companies, some of you in here, and there are two aspects of data. One is regularity data. You probably are very familiar with GDPR, upcoming NIS2, TISAX, ISO 27000. Surprisingly, or maybe not, each of these norms, but even global norms or standards like PCI DSS, they all point on specific point, protect the sensitive data of the customers and overall. So let's take a look on insider threats. We have a case of Javier, who is financial analyst. We have a case of Martin, the system engineer, that for many of you, you may have you may have an organization when you have a system development internally. You have another case of Alexandra or Alejandra, who is a sales executive working with vast amount of customer data. And we have a case of Luis, who is an admin assistant. All of these have certain concerns, problems, and traits. And for all of these, we have different kind of insider threats that may be exposing your secure data. So this is the second question. Do you know people like this? I personally identify myself with at least two of these people, and I think it's very common. So maybe what the companies are worried about is the solid protection, but what is usually what companies forget, but what about the data exposed within my company, with the people I trust? These are my colleagues, this is my director, this is the boss of the company. They also unintentionally, without any malicious interest, expose the data without knowing it. And for that, we need to have a professional solution that would be automatically detecting it, stopping it, and also educating these users, no matter what their position is. So in case of Javier, because he is a comfortable person, he wanted to use different solution to pass financial analysis data, very sensitive information, to a person, but he accidentally clicked on the wrong person when he was sending the data. So the financial data went to wrong hands. It was unintentional insider threat, but it's common that it happens. I will also show you statistics, global statistics, how often it happens that we unintentionally send wrong data, and you cannot recall oftentimes that email anymore. And what if it's not email? There are other ways how to exfiltrate the information from the company. So in this case, the company lost because of the sensitivity of the data competitive advantage. In case of Martin, as a system engineer, he wanted to simplify his work with ChatGPT, improve his code, and have a quicker break from the work after the working hours. He knows that the data in ChatGPT is exposing this data, copying and pasting to a third-party website that doesn't have any contract with them on confidentiality, may cause a huge risk. And in this case, you already probably heard, and I heard some of you telling about the famous first case of Samsung last year in October, November, when their meeting notes and their proprietary Samsung code was exposed through ChatGPT. And this is only one, but how many AI solutions are there that any of the employees can simply copy confidential data, paste it on web, and these data may be a little later leaked without company even knowing. Alexandra, in case, lost the phone with entire database of customers and their contact details. It went to wrong hands, and a person that acquired that phone or found that phone was able to call some of the customers. Customers knew that the only provider for them is the company of Alexandra, and that company, because of her unintentional activity or insider threat that she caused, got loss of customers' confidence. So the customers that were complaining no longer trusted that company that can safeguard their customer data. Lastly, we take a Luis. Luis was very disappointed working with his boss. Sometimes we have good bosses or bad bosses, like all the time. And maybe because of the anger, maybe because of the frustration, he exposed entire database of the customer data in not only in social media, but different groups, chat groups. Of course, this is leaked, and he was, as a result, responsible for, as a malicious insider, for penalties that were imposed on that company because the customers, of course, were in a large numbers, and it was already within the regulation of the country to impose the penalty in that such a vast data leak that was caused just by one insider within the company. So in general, we often think of a cyber risk or cyber problems as an external threat to us, some external cyber criminals. But without knowing it, statistically, the most common data exfiltration or data exposure within the company is actually unintentional insider that sends the information and that uses the information in wrong channels. So these are some stats. Very quickly, 60% of the companies had insider attack last year, based on the research. 56 of them were just because of the negligent employee. So what is negligent employee? He knows that it could be bad thing to do this data and send it through this channel or send as an email to somebody else that's not supposed to receive it. But because he needs to do it and he wants to simply do it, he will not think of the policy and still send it. Negligence would lead to data exposure. That's the most common. Now, raise hand who in the entire life of our career never sent an email to a wrong person. I didn't. I'm not the great one. I actually sent a few times because we are people. There are people that are called John, or I don't know what's your common name in Lithuania, and it simply happens that we send it to the wrong person. 40% of us, I see in here in the audience, much more send it to the wrong person. It's okay if it's an email, but what if there is attachment that is really, really confidential? That is very hurtful for the companies. Lastly, 45% of employees, and again, I will raise the hand. In my case, when I leave the company, I take all the information that is very valuable for me for my next career or my next business. But all of us sign a contract when we enter to the company that we are not entitled to take any information out because everything will be produced in 5, 10 years in the company. It's a property of the company. No matter what files, no matter what projects, they should stay within the company. And I had some conversation today when some of you were mentioning that you have quite a heavy churn of the employees. Many employees come and leave. There's no control of what has been exposed and, more importantly, what has been taken. There's no control of it. Nobody knows about it, especially when the person works remotely and offline from the network or protected network of the customer. So how can we help you? Or how to approach the data security generally? First, you need to understand what data you have, so discover it. Of course, then automatically protect it with your policies. You need to continuously educate the employees. And this is one of the highlights when discussing with Gartner and Forrester. You have to understand that not every employee is made equal. There will be this few amount of employees. They'll be very bad. They constantly do something bad for the company. You can detect who they are, and you can have a specific treatment for them. You can send them to a information security training, or you can block the access for them because they do very often mistakes on exposing the data. So education is key, especially for very large organizations. So 500 employees or more, in your case. This is very common case, especially in banking industry. The last one, of course, you need to have evidence of what happened. Imagine you have an employee that goes out of the company, and you know after he left the company that one file was exposed, but you do not know what was inside of the file. For that, Safetica keeps shadow copies that will, after incident, allow you to investigate what has been exposed. At least you know how much risk you have in the future. So quickly, in discovery, what is important? Broad range of data, both data at rest, data in use, and in motion. It has to be all sets of data, not only Microsoft environment, but all type of files. And we need to make sure that we do not have a false positive. So you need to understand the context that I mentioned in the beginning. Are we thinking of only what is content? Are we only scanning OCR content of these files? Or are we understand that this file comes from a very sensitive department, for example, from financial department, And any content, even non-sensitive, from that department should not really go to wrong hands, to a destination that we do not want. For some technology companies, they have a very specific file extensions, like for example, CAT extensions. And they need to also understand what CAT files, which is their intellectual property, should not move around. So once we discover data and classify them automatically, we need to know how to protect. Now, I was impressed to see how many options are there to just take the data out of the company. This is the sample of what could be the data exfiltration of the people within the company that you trust that could take the files out of the company. And so for that, it's important to have a solid data protection solution that thinks of the comprehensive channels of exposure of the companies. I would like to raise a question, and hopefully somebody of you can answer. What do you think is the most common data exfiltration channel from this list? Internet is good, yeah. Cloud, very much. So passing to my personal G Drive or OneDrive, that's good one. Uh-huh. Yeah. Email is the right answer. Emails is the most common data exfiltration. And how many emails do you guys send every day? That's where the statistics come in place. We just send so many emails, so many attachments, so much information, and there's no control of that. So let's take a look. This is a medical professional receiving sensitive health information from a person in an attachment, and he has the urgency to pass it to senior medical staff to consult with them about this person. But based on the hospital policies, even if it's urgent, it has to be consulted only within the medical staff of that institution and not outside. He sent it outside. The Safetica detected that it was this content that is very highly sensitive of the health information of their customers. Block it, but not only block that forwarding of the sensitive data to external email that is not allowed, but at the same time, it informs the user and it trains him, educates him what was wrong, and gives them option. Okay, this is real urgency. I want to override the policy and I need to send it. So then, when they have audit, internal audit, they can look at it and allow this. In some industries, this is important to, even if you have security policies, to have a chance to override it. And so this is the way to proceed. This is, we had the cloud option of exfiltration. This is a typical case when you have internal file storage, that will be Dropbox in this case. And when you're moving inside of the company, the file of your private pictures of your family to your personal Dropbox, it's okay. But what if I suddenly think of this database of very sensitive information about customers and I try to move it to the Dropbox? It's blocked again, and the employee is educated. That's not the right. That's breaching the policy, security policies of the company. Third case, I hear some of you mentioning about AI and ChatGPT. This is simple copying and pasting on the web. How many websites allow you to paste files or drag and drop files, copy and paste text that is then processed and, as a web service? The modern DLP solution blocks even copy-paste or screenshotting of information. So even this, I would say, unusual way of exposure to data, it's, the company is protecting from. I already mentioned a couple of times education. This is a sample how employees very transparently see what they breached, why is it bad, and have an option to override the policy. At the end, for the system administrators or for security team, when they discover that there is really concern about what happened, they can look back, see complete trail of where that file started, how it was copied, how the content was copied and pasted to another file, and what different options of that files happened and where did it go until it was finally exfiltrated. At the same time, we provide a shadow copy, which is actually an evidence of a real file that was copied, to see what has been exposed. So, Many of you think, okay, I already think of how to protect my organization. I know from, for example, from this presentation, what are the important aspects for that. But what do we do first? How do we actually start? The start of the modern data protection is audit. So you need to know what data I have. Are they sensitive or not? So with this, you can ask or answer your question, what data is at risk? Because we all know we have a sensitive data, but where it is. If you think of a company that's 300 employees and all of them have different files processing and sending it to providers, customers, so where is the data? First question is what it is. Second is who from my company, what colleagues of mine are exposing this data internally within the company and or outside, and where do they send it? So in here we have an example where we have a specific person exposing the data in Facebook Messenger. And the third question is, which is quite off from cybersecurity, how do my employees use the time? It has two benefits. One, I know if they use the software or SaaS that I pay licenses for, so they are used. But the second is, I know if they are really working or not. Specifically very essential for the companies that have a lot of contractors. So there's a lot of contractors, they work from home and they claim that we work. I was on a call just a few days back with the customer that uses a DLP or insider threat management specifically to understand what my employees are doing. Are they online? Are they playing games? Are they offline sitting at home and looking at their LinkedIn, looking for their new job? They have the information available because from the endpoint that the customer contractor may use and or employees, they have the full information. So with that, I finalized my presentation. Hopefully it was informative. Hopefully you learn about the data security and what are the insider threats and why the DLP and insider threat management are important components of the modern data protection. Thank you very much.
All right, so thank you very much for your presentation. Do you have any questions? Okay, I not see your hands. Okay, thank you very much. Gerai, tai galim... atsiprašau. Yes.
Okay, there are certain solutions, there are mobile DLPs, but most of the DLP vendors decommission the mobile function. The new way how to do it is thinking of the mobile as a terminal that uses the information that is available on the cloud environments. So for Safetica, we have a mobile user protected on a cloud environment, for example, for Microsoft 365. So while we do not have any application installed in mobile device, when they are using any of the Microsoft 365 applications like Outlook, or they're using Teams on the phone, and or OneDrive on the phone, the policies that we set up to protect the data are implemented even for the mobile users without actually putting anything as a software on that phone itself. So. It's true, but the data would have to be downloaded and exposed in the phone first, and this is what you can protect with the mobile, with the cloud policies or cloud data security policies. Thank you for the question. Of course, it is very specific topic on the in the DLP industry because the development of the mobile phones, Android and other brands is so fast that it may be very difficult to really maintain the solution to protect the data on the phones. But this is the modern way in thinking of the mobile as a terminal in a way, and do it on the cloud, protecting on the cloud directly. Any other question? Thank you, by the way. Be good. All right. So thank you so much.